Good morning, good afternoon, and no, it's not good morning for anybody. It's 3 o'clock. This isn't on. What are we talking about here? What is this? What's happening today?
I threw you off. I think
Yeah,
that's what
I'm
it
telling
was.
you. This is what happened. Now, all you need to know this before we even get into the whole show introduction. Raquel and I are in this fantasy football league put together by somebody who will not be mentioned on this cast for many reasons. You know who you are. And we were rivals this weekend. And we had a hair raising, bone chilling, stomach churning, thrilling matchup that came right down to the wire. So both of us are way out of sorts today.
Yes, we are.
But it was a good match. It was a good match.
Yes, I think it was the friendliest match ever. If you ask me, I was just like, Jeff, look, you're gonna beat me by like half a point, and then it was just like 30 points. I'm like, you know what, whatever.
It's kind of what it was. Yeah, it really is kind of what it was. But I do want to welcome you all here today to another episode of 40 Going on 4. This is the show that helps you reconnect with that inner child who once puked in the back seat on the way down to Disney in a station wagon. And we have folks from all over the world joining us today. Doc, good to see you. Welcome down. I'm so excited you're all here. So, for those of you who don't know Raquel Flores, you're in for a treat. This is one of the most extraordinary people you are ever going to meet. And I mean this. And I'm not just saying that because I feel bad that I beat her yesterday. I swear, I'm not just, well, maybe a little bit. But she's amazing. And her spark and her vivaciousness and her energy and her disposition toward life will leave you walking away inspired. Her story is something that most people could not endure and come out smelling like roses on the other side. But this is an extraordinary human. And today we're going to talk about how to rewrite your own story no matter what life deals you. So, Raquel, welcome, my friend.
Oh my goodness. After that, it's just like, how do you talk? How do you follow that up? My goodness. Thank you so much, Jeff, for having me in your show. It's a complete honor. And, when you asked me, I was just like, oh my God, oh my God. Like I was freaking out. I was like, yes. And so thank you for thinking of me. Thank you for, my story. I know you were like, it resonates so much and people need to hear your story. So thank you for allowing me the space to actually share and continue sharing because I think it's important, especially now that we're in Hispanic Heritage Month, right? It's very important for us to be able to raise our voices in unison and be able to just share what makes us who we are and why we do the things we do nowadays. So thank you.
Absolutely. And no, Angela, I did not know that you puked on the way down to Florida, but now I do. Now Rocky knows. Now everybody knows.
Oh, hi.
What's up, Dana? Good to see you, my friend.
Shout out to you. You did your show was phenomenal, Dana. Thank you so much. You put me at ease because I was just like, man, when I go to his show, I'm like, he's just gonna be like bam, bam, bam. But yours energies was just out of this world. It was amazing.
I'm only doing bam, 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 bam to my tables at home, and my wide receivers aren't getting their act together Sunday afternoon. But I don't do that on the live stream, at least not yet. Let's give it a day.
Yeah,
All
for
right, let's
sure.
jump right into it. Let's do this. Okay, so Rocky, you grew up in El Salvador, and for those of you who know El Salvador, it's in Southeast Asia. It's next to Vietnam.
No,
Okay, for those of you who are geography majors.
no, no. El
Cool.
Salvador is not there. So let me
All
tell
right.
you a
Well,
little bit
why
definitely
don't
about
you
El
give us the
Salvador.
lesson?
Okay, so see, there's a delay. So we're gonna be crossing over. I'm just letting you know. But yeah, for sure, El Salvador is the smallest Central American country, and in it's I'm biased. I am biased. I would say I would think it's the best Central American country there is, just because of its people. The people really make that country what it is today. It's rich in culture. We have so much tourism, and it's people are moving over there in flocks to live, to retire, to live out their golden years, and it's a beautiful thing. So I had the pleasure of actually going back after 14 years. I went back this past May, and let me tell you, the way I remember El Salvador when I was in my childhood, it completely has transformed, and I can definitely see young families moving there and just just having a wonderful life, a wonderful quality of life. But that's not how my story started. My story started basically with the war. I was a child. I was a child product of the Civil War that was senseless at that point. Without getting political or religious, it was really very tumultuous. over 75,000 people, and included children, men, and children, perished during that war. I believe to this day that if I had stayed back in El Salvador, I would have been part of the casualties in the statistics. And so it's one of those things that you take from that adversity, from the items that life has handed to you, the situations and the surroundings. What can you do that in a positive way? What can you contribute back to the world in a positive way that will empower others? So that is basically where my childhood led to who I am now as an adult, and why I do the things that I do.
Well, let's talk about the things that you do, because I've had the privilege to follow you for a long time. And one thing that I've always seen is that, first and foremost, you root for everybody. I mean that. And those of you who are in the comments, Rocky, she roots for everybody. It's amazing. A lot of people are like, you are like, but you now throw some shade. But you root for everybody. Where does that come from?
It comes from the desire of, well, I think I'm a people pleaser. That's one, but it comes from a desire of just wanting to everyone to get along. This world really needs more kindness, more love, more compassion, more than anything. And coming from that poverty-stricken childhood that I experienced, from that a lot of suffering, if I'm able to bring somebody joy, if I'm able to make somebody smile, if I'm able to share something that will empower and lighten their day, lighten their load as they journey through life, why not do it? So it comes from that. It comes from the need of, I think, going back to my childhood, it comes from being bullied. It comes from not wanting to feel like I'm an outsider, a misfit, and not outcast. So going through my young adulthood life, I always wanted to make everyone feel welcomed and that they were embraced. And I carried that throughout. So I think that's why people think that, they're like, oh, she's just super nice. I am. And what you see is what you get. And Chris is one of the ones who can tell you that, in real life, this is who I am in person. It's not like I'm putting a facade.
I missed you both in Nashville. I got super FOMO about that. I was going to make a trip there just to go and just to pop in and do a whole thing, but I'm to pop in and harass you guys at some other time in some other place, and just go somewhere really fun so I could do it. Go to, like, Western South Dakota, so we can just,
Yeah.
show up in the middle of absolute nowhere and just bring it.
It's coming up. We're definitely going to plan all of these different meetups in real life, just because we value so much connections. I think connections is the essence of actually getting to know somebody. But not only that, if it transacts into business, heck yes, like that would be fantastic, right? But don't lead with the transaction. Don't chase the dollars. Like, really genuinely get to know the person. So having said that, I do want to give a shout out to Chris Malazewski and the Walking Tall movement, just because that is the reason, honestly, why we were able to meet and go to the mental health marketing conference, which was an amazing event. I'm sorry you missed it. I think you would have been a perfect fit. You would have had a blast and learned a lot and met so many new people. But it's important. Mental health is important for us to keep empowering one another and raising awareness, for sure.
100%. Now let's really dive into that. So you had an experience that a lot of people would not be able. And I use the word transmute a lot on this show, and it's a word that's near and dear to my heart, because every one of us in this life is gonna go through stuff.
Yes.
And some of the stuff is gonna be, I'm gonna use some polite language on the show, a little more challenging than some other stuff. And you've gone through stuff that most people, I think, would leave them truly scarred, emotionally, psychologically, spiritually, certainly. And yet you use that as this jet fuel to kind of get past, and not, you don't forget it, but you say, I have seen, like, you've been able to see, you've seen cruelty, true human cruelty, up close and personal, in a way I think most people, certainly who are from this country, don't understand, at least not in a visceral way. And yet you've not let that dim your light. In fact, your light shines brighter because of it. So when did you make the decision, was it conscious or not, to say, I'm going to use what I've experienced to make my light shine even brighter?
Ooh, that is a loaded question. But, I think I've gone through phases, to be honest with you, Jeff. The first one was definitely setting foot in this country, knowing that the sacrifice that my parents made to be able to come here to this country and leave us back in El Salvador literally for almost 7 years. And the reason why they came to the States was because of the war. As thousands of families from El Salvador did that. They came to the States or went up to Canada, right? Fleeing from the war, fleeing from whatever, just we didn't have a future over there. Basically, is what I'm saying. So seeing that suffering and seeing here, when I came to this to this country that I was able to actually have opportunities and options, I'm like, oh, heck yeah, I am going to do that. So just picture me as almost as a 10-year-old really making myself a vow to say, hey, this is what your parents did for you, then you need to make sure you become a woman of good, how we say it in Spanish, una mujer de bien, a woman of good who gives back to the community, gives back to the world, contributes something, helps others along the way. And so for me, at age 9 to 10, that was a significant moment of transition. Then you fast forward when I was in college. I'm the first one in my family to go to a university. So I'm gonna shout out my alma mater, Texas A&M. A whoop! I will
Gig 'em.
ever Giga Magus. We beat Arkansas this weekend, so I'm excited. So
Everybody beats Arkansas these days. Come on, don't take a victory lap over that one.
well, we'll see how we do with Bama next week.
Yeah.
Shout out to you, Mark Reed. You and I are gonna be, scuffling there.
That's why I didn't mention his name on this thing. You just brought that evil lion. You just brought that Bama juju into the show.
But it's okay. I actually, gosh, I lost a bet to him, so I have to wear a Bama shirt. Like, can you believe that? I'm gonna be like breaking out in hives and everywhere.
That's rough. Somebody guy's an exorcist. Now's the time.
Oh my gosh. But anyways, shout out to you, Mark. We love you. But anyhow, so that was my second, I think, moment of aha, where I'm like, okay, I'm the first one in my family. I'm doing things in a different way than what the society or my culture dictated, which was not much to honestly, like, I was just what would you say, expected to graduate high school, perhaps join the family business. And but that was not the vision that I saw for me, Jeff. Like, I really wanted more. I said, if I came to this country, if my parents went through all that, I must make their sacrifice count. And how do I make it count? Become highly educated. So first one in my family to go to university and get a bunch of degrees. It doesn't really matter. Degrees don't define me, right? At the end of the day, what really defines you is your heart and your desire to help the world and what you give to others. So, but education. Education was definitely the way that I got out and broke that generational curse that has kind of lingered throughout in our families. And I had quite an adverse was adversities in my acculturation and assimilation journey, just because, coming from another country, trying to fit in and really not fitting in really well with with the new country, but also kind of doing a dishonor to your former country. It's just like, how do you vacillate between both and how do you keep everyone happy? So that defined, honestly, my teenage years and my young adulthood until I came to my own right after college. And I said, okay, how can I use my platform, what I know now, and put it to good use? I speak 4 languages, and I was like, okay, do I just become a translator? Do I become a mediator? Do I just go to the United Nations? What do I do? So my counselor at that point was like, have you thought about public health? And I'm like, no. So I chose public health just because at the end of the day, I wanted to become a doctor. Hasn't happened yet, but it will. It will. I will become a doctor one day. And a medical
What
doctor,
kind of
that is.
doctor?
A medical
Medical doctor,
doctor.
not a
Yes.
doctor like Constance. Okay.
But I could if I
I'm
wanted
not
to
throwing
go that
shade, Constance.
route.
We love you, but that's a different kind of doctor. I'm
Constance.
just saying, like it's impressive stuff. So
Constant has
legit,
like 7,000 degrees, like legit. No,
real
like
talk.
we love
Yeah.
you. We love you, CJ.
Yes.
You're a freaking amazing. And I cannot wait for her summit. So, that will be happening soon in the next few weeks. So, guys, check her out. But anyhow, so to me, that was really a deciding moment. And I'm like, okay, if I have this power in my hands, how can I put it to good use and just start helping others? So that is literally what I've dedicated myself ever since coming back home to Houston. Okay, Houston, it's always been my home since I got here, and just started working with the underserved populations here in Houston, especially my Latino, my Latino Hispanic communities, because we don't really have access to many resources because of lack of education. We don't know how to find them. So I told myself, okay, that will be my mission. That will be my purpose for the next however many years. Um, I did that. I worked in home health. I reached out to as a mentor for the youth, for my Latino populations, and then life got in the way. Became a mom, got married, became a mom, and really just kind of like fell into the whole societal roles. And what do I mean by that? Wifey, mommy, right? So
Yep.
everything else took a back seat because that was what was expected. So not throwing shade or anything at, women who do that, or I guess nowadays it's also men who tend to the home. It's an admirable job, man. I commend you. It is hard. But some like me, we know that maybe that's not for us and that's not our forte, that we were meant for more. And so that was the third phase of my life where I knew that it was a defining moment for me, that I needed to do something else.
What was that moment? So you become a mom and like, all right, let's go, let's go, let's go. But there's still more to do beyond being the mom. Like there's this another side of me. Like, how do you push through that? Because I know, especially in Latino culture and a lot of different cultures, but I know Latino culture, especially, there's that, okay, well, you're a mom. This is it now. Like, this is the thing. Lock in, laser focus. Like, this is your life now. And it's very
Yeah.
traditional in a lot of different sectors. So how do you push through that and say, no, but there's still more to me and I'm going to express this?
Yes. So I've always been the black sheep. I've always been considered the black sheep in my family, just because I just didn't fit in with whatever expectation they had of me. I didn't follow the rules. Not breaking any rules from ill intentions. It's just I was very free spirited. I've always been free spirited, not to harm a soul, but just to be of the world. I saw past what my culture had to offer, and so I was like, okay, what can I do? Moving forward. So for me, being able to go out there and educate individuals, being able to share my story and empower women to break out of their mold, that's what really fed my soul. So when I got married, started having my children, and fit the molds, and did this and did that for 10 years, and it wasn't feeding my soul. I knew that there was something wrong. I knew that I needed to do something, and it was dire. So then COVID hit. And that was just like, okay, that's it, no more. So I was able, to really gain the courage, which was not an easy thing, and just say, you know what, this is not what I want for my life. I asked my then husband, come on with me, let's go on this journey. And I have this to offer. I want to be a speaker, I want to be an author, I want to be out there in the communities educating our people, our Hispanic individuals, to be better, to become, live a better quality of life, for lack of better words. And yeah, he said no. He was content in doing what he was doing. Baseball is all he knew, and that's what he wanted to stay. And so I felt pretty, for lack of better words, betrayed, because I tended to the family for all those years. And when it was time for him to kind of give me my chance to go after my dreams and ambitions and goals, he pretty much shut me down. So I said, I can't do this. I cannot be untruthful to myself. I cannot lie to myself. I cannot conform just to make someone else happy. I like I said, it was a hard decision for me, but I stood up for myself, and I'm glad I did. I'm really glad I did, because I have two sets of little eyes looking at my every move, Jeff. And in fact, you have kids, you know
Ooh,
what that means.
that's powerful stuff. Something I read once that really stuck with me, and they say the greatest gift you can give your kids is not what you say, it's how you live, because you become the template, and they're watching closely, and they're watching you every single day. Now it could be that creepy song from the '80s, "Who's Watching Me." Remember that one? God, that song still gives me chills to this day. But it's it's kids we're watching who are going to be the ones that literally step in and take the
Hmm.
wheel of this entire thing we call the world, and you're showing them the way. Now, do you have moments where you say, you know what, maybe, I don't know, maybe I should just do what everyone's telling me to do, and I should take the easy way out and go the conservative or safe route? I mean, you have those moments of that hit you?
At the beginning, once I had decided to leave my marriage, I thought about it, and I said, "Man, how is this going to impact my girls? How did I make the right choice?" As a single mom, let me tell you, every single day I doubt if I make the right choice or the wrong choice for my children, and anything that comes from schooling to clothing to whatever it is. So it's a constant battle that I have to fight, an inner constant battle, right? But for me, what further validated that I had made the right choice, however difficult it was the right choice for me as a human being. Because at the end of the day, yes, I am mommy, I am Raquel, but at the end of the day, like, I also have to give honor to myself and make sure that I'm truthful and respect my wishes as well. Because if I'm going to lead an unhappy life, a life where I'm going to regret when I'm 70 or 80-year old on my deathbed, or whatever that will be, that I'm going to regret that I didn't do this, then no. I would say that guilt of not living my life outweighs my fear of saying, okay, let's go for this. Has it been easy? No, it has not been easy. By far, the last 3 years have been the hardest in my life. However, they have been where I have experienced the most personal growth ever, and I wouldn't change it.
That's amazing. We have some great comments here about some great people. Natalia, what's happening, my friend? Raquel, you are an honest person and mom. Children should be brought up in truth. Congrats on that. That's beautiful.
Thank you. Yeah, and I must add, Natalia, that it has not been easy. Like I said, my children have seen the both extremes, have seen Raquel when she has been broken down to the worst. They have seen me in my worst bouts of depression, anxiety. But they've also seen that mom that has rejoiced, has, cried out of happiness when she became a first-time published author in the Latina Legacy book. And, that recently happened. So from going to being left on my face and saying, I want to write a book and I want to be a published author because this is exactly what happened. It's like a healing journey to being able to say, I did it. And now what? What's next? So it's that source of resilience that I was talking to Jeff about prior to going live, that it's one of the characteristics that really has defined me. And I thank my parents for really instilling that in me, the value of hard work, right? But that doesn't mean to say that I want to work hard my entire life, like labor with hands. Like, no, we can work hard, we can work efficient, but using this, right? And if we have the ability to educate ourselves and really equip ourselves with the right tools to be able to work hard using this, why not do it? And this is the same message that I'm showing to my kids. So Natalia, thank you so much for your comment. That's very sweet of you.
Yeah, this is resonating with a lot of people, as I knew it would.
Look at you. Yes, pat yourself.
Bringing the best people on. I'm telling you, this is what it's all about. Tammy's got it. The example you're setting is a strong and independent woman who is working to make a difference in the world. That's not nothing. There's a lot of people out there who are looking at this and saying, this is what I need to be doing too.
But you know what, Jeff, and this is another thing of the reasons why I focus so much on my Latina sisters. And I keep going back to that, right? Yes, we are in Hispanic Heritage Month, but needless to say, there are other cultures, other women out there, and sometimes men. And I'm not saying to discredit this just for men, but I focus on my Latina sisters just because I know our struggles. I know what we go through, and it's rooted in culture, right? And those cultural anchors that just keep us there. But what I saw throughout all these years is that I would go to people's houses, when I was a home health manager, and I would interview usually the caregiver, and usually the caregiver of the elderly in that household was the son's wife, the sister-in-law, the daughter, and they were like middle age. They were my age, or they were slightly older. And I used to sit across the table, you were discussing the care that the service plan, right, for the person. And I would just sit there and ask them, well, do you have any dreams? Do you have any aspirations? What are you working on? And I was curious, but it was just like one of those sisterly conversations. And they would tell me, oh, I would love to open like a little boutique. I would love to open like this panaderia, which is like a bakery. Or I would love to do this. And I'm like, well, why haven't you done it? And they're like, it really took them aback when I would ask that. And I'm like, well, what's stopping you? First thing they would say, oh, I don't really know if I could do it. The second thing is I would have to talk to my husband about this. Like, what about? And third, so it goes back to culture that for some reason we always are expected to take, the back seat or second in line, or just be in the shadows, or calladita te ves más bonita, which is basically hush, you look prettier. Sorry about that. Or you look prettier, when you're silent. And I was just like, but if we're not hurting a soul, if we're not doing anything, what's the problem with you actually going after your dreams? So that was another reason that I hit a wall with the corporate world, because I just felt my 9 to 5 was not filling my soul anymore.
Been there, got that t-shirt many, many times over. And some of us are not wired for it. This is not to dog anybody who's doing it. For a lot of people, they find fulfillment in it and they love their coworkers, and that's great. And for some other people, it's kryptonite. The minute you step in, you're like Superman. As soon as the kryptonite comes in, you're like, oh, and you start dying. And, actually, did Superman make that sound? Probably not. And if he did, somebody fired Superman. Get a better Superman. We have a very important question here from the great Mark Reed. Hard-hitting one. Do you know? Of course she knows how to cook. This is Raquel. She can do everything if you know how to cook. pupusas, tamales. I mean, okay, what's the best dish? And
Oh
we're
my
not gonna mention the last
gosh.
hashtag that does not get mentioned on the show. But
He really
what
wants me to
is
say it though. Jesus. Okay.
you're
But
not
we're
gonna say it.
not.
No, I'm not gonna say it. It's not happening. So
Okay,
yeah.
Bart, you already heard that. I am not going to say it because this is just show. So you will have to wait until my stream. But anyhow, so to answer Mr. Zen Master Mark Reed's question, yes, I do know how to cook. And it's Salvadoran food, my friend, not El Salvadoran food. Salvadoran food. Yes, I know how to cook pupusas. I know how to make tamales, which they're really difficult to make, but I do know how to make them, so I don't make them that often. But for me, one of my favorite dishes from El Salvador is tamal de lote con crema. Tamal de lote, which is basically tamal, it's a tamale, but it's made out of corn. So it's ground, like you grind the corn and then you fry it. And you put sour cream, but it's not like the sour cream from here. It's crema salvadoreña. It tastes different. So that's my favorite dish from El Salvador, y'all. Besides pupusas.
Sounds awesome, and I think my doctor just had a coronary listening to those ingredients and the way it's done. But it's all right. It's okay because
Yes,
that's what it's it's all about.
but it's all good. I
And
think
now I'm blessed to live.
one of these days we're definitely going to have to do like a Salvadoran cooking thing, in person. But where you live, have you tried Salvadoran food?
Oh my God, yeah. This is so I'm in Northern Virginia, and we
Oh,
have one of the
oh
largest
yeah,
Salvadoran populations in the
yeah,
country, if not the largest, actually, probably outside of Southern California. And there's like you throw a rock, you hit 8 different pupusa places, so like they're everywhere,
yeah. No,
and they're amazing.
Washington, Maryland have the biggest. Then is LA, and then is us in Houston, and then I believe it's back to y'all, back to the the East Coast.
Yeah.
So, but even though, and see, this is one of the things that I tell people, we are a very small country, but there are a lot of us all over the United States. And but even though we're many numbers, we're not visible. We're not doing much to contribute, even though there are some fantastic leaders. I must say that there are leaders, but we just don't get that much visibility. So that was another reason why I told myself I need to start doing something. I need to start making some noise here and there to be able to be heard, to be able to be seen, so that I can bring that highlight to my culture and shed more light that we're not just about, the gangs, las maras. We're not just about that. We have so much more that is enriching and contributes in a positive way to the world, to society, to politics. We don't want to discuss politics, but we do have some good leaders, and in general, like to the world. We have beautiful, delicious coffee, beautiful tourism, but people just get so hung up on what they know, what the media portrays.
Oh, 100%. And I worked in politics. Not proud to say it, but it was part of the journey, and that's what brought me to the DC area originally. And now this is around like
Mm,
2004, 2005, 2006, this area, and this back then, the immigration was the hottest of topics, and like you said back then, when people would hear, especially in this area, El
mhm,
Salvador, what's like the first place their mind goes to, and it
mhm.
was not a good place, and that's the story that was written about the entire community. So people at some point have to step up and say, we're going to write our own story. We're going to create our own narrative. We're going to step into who we're going to be and not who other people decide we are going to be. And
Exactly.
it's inspiring to see what you're doing in that regard for your community. And so have you seen the change in the community like since those days? What kind of changes have you seen?
So for me, in the sense of professionally speaking, and coming from a healthcare background, or the healthcare aspect, yes, there has been a little over the 20 years that I've been in Houston working with the underserved population, I would say, in regards to their healthcare. I've had to do advocacy for them. I have seen an increase in help that they've received in some of the communities that were forgotten. Like, no joke, there's so many communities here in Houston that are just like, yeah, they can fend for themselves, and that's not the case. You have so many elderly in those communities that literally have no access to food, have no access to medical resources, have no transportation, and so they're just forgotten. And so being able to shed light on those things, being able to come to leaders in this community and say, y'all need to pay attention to this. So yes, I have seen an up and I guess an increase in help for those communities. As far as a Salvadoran woman trying to do with my personal stuff, right? Like my personal projects, my personal passion projects, as I call them. being an advocate for my Latina women, yes, I've seen also that there is, everybody's coming together, but it's taken so long. To be honest with you, it's taken so long, especially for Salvadoran women, because we get lumped in with everybody else.
Mhm.
Again, we're not that known, and that's why I told myself I think we need to start making, stir in the pot somewhere in the world, but in a good way, and start making some noise and saying, yes, we have our own sets of cultural challenges, we have our own sets of trials and tribulations, but they do not define us. We have more to bring to the table, and we just need a chance to be heard.
That's powerful stuff, and it's the power of one. The power of
Mm.
one is the power of all. Now we can get into like a deep
Ooh,
metaphysical discussion about it, but I mean, at the end of the day, the power of one changes everything. And you look at
yes.
every great movement throughout history, and not just, people always think movement, they think it has to be some kind of big political movement. No, I mean movement like on a human level.
Hmm.
When one person makes a decision, I'm going to change, I'm going to be the cycle breaker, I'm going to take one step forward that nobody behind me has taken. But by doing that, I bring all of them with me too. Those who've come
Yeah.
before me and those will come after.
Yes, and the thing is, you don't have to think of it of in grandiose scale, right? You don't have to like go out there and become this world renowned figure, write 7,000 books. If you do, I mean, I applaud you, Jesus. Like you got the time
Oh, yeah.
and do everything. But what I'm saying is, as if you're one step ahead of that person behind you, like why not help them, right? And this is one of the principles that I when I coach, I tell people like really help people around you. There's no harm in doing that. As long as you don't have any ill intentions or malice in your heart, why would you not share information that you know to help your loved one, to help your friend, your coworker, your neighbor, whoever it is? Why wouldn't you do it? And it goes back down to the person. Each everybody is their own world, and however they feel their perspectives of competition, if they perceive it as competition. I don't perceive it as that. I perceive it as, if we all walk in unison, we will all make greater steps to go in the world and even contribute even more.
Absolutely. A lot of people, they try to frame things in this kind of either or
You're
mentality.
you're sounding robotic to me. Hmm.
I'm sounding robotic to me too. That's fine.
Yeah. Okay. Well, no,
Yeah,
you can.
I know. Yeah, I'm kidding, but I know I am actually, and it's driving me nuts right now. I had this new cord ready for my mic was ready to go today, and I had the order on Best Buy, like it hasn't come in yet. What do you mean I'm going live at three
Oh
o'clock? And then that was the whole thing.
no. Well, you can try to
But
turn
here
it
we
off
go.
if you want and turn it back on and see if that works. And I can keep
Yeah,
speaking as you do that. But yeah, one of those things for me is connecting. To me, community is such a valuable, essential ingredient to have in anyone's journey. It's for me, it has proven for the last 2 years to be the magic sauce. Everybody is over here saying, well, what's the magic sauce? How have you grown? And I'm relating this back to LinkedIn, just because so many individuals, this is where my platform is. I live and breathe LinkedIn. I just feel that it has been the perfect platform for me. I don't feel like I fit with social media, like traditional social media. I just don't. Instagram is just too fake for me. Some people say they do a lot of business from Facebook. Hey, I command you, like, yes, go for it. TikTok is just not, I'm not yet there. I'm just like, I don't just see it. And then YouTube will be definitely my next stop. I believe YouTube is another form of an outlet for us to be able to spread our messages and really, really empower others, right? And there's a lot of creative expanse that you can definitely dive into. But for us to be able to build a community, that is one way that we can definitely chart our way in our life. Relating it back to the topic, not to digress too much. But for me, community has been extremely essential these last 2 years. It's being able to surround myself with individuals who are eclectic, who come from different industries, who have different sets of knowledge and wisdom, uh, who can definitely help us grow, challenge us, right? Because it doesn't serve you well to stay stagnant in one spot. And like, what growth are you doing there? At that point, you're not growing. So definitely one of the things that I coach, my clients is, how are you challenging yourself on a daily basis? What are you doing to grow professionally and personally? And a lot of that goes back to personal growth, right? A lot of your
yeah,
professional really, really goes back to your personal growth. So I focus a lot on that personal and being able to be your authentic self without lying to yourself and without losing yourself in your professional realm. So, community, having a reliable community that will have your back despite your falls, despite your, ups and downs, rises and falls, however you want to call it. It's is of the utmost, imperative, like it's essential. um and yeah, a peer support, like Chris says, it really sets us all apart, because you are able to shine, you're able to be you, but at the same time you are able to grow by learning. I don't know if you agree with me on that.
100%. I do. I think you can only grow by learning, and you can only grow by experiencing, and you can only grow by doing. And I love that when you get on these lives, I love the shirt with the U.S. and Salvadoran flags. I love it, and I love it for a lot of reasons. But the one that jumps out at me is, now this might sound like a leap, but I don't think it is. And if anybody does, blow me up in the comments. It's fine. That shirt to me represents quantum thinking, because it's this idea of life does not have to be either or. Life can be yes and yes and is what leads us to every great innovation, every great aha moment, every great collaboration. Like when somebody asks you, Rocky, are you American or Salvadoran? Yes.
Yes, and more
Why
of
does it
that.
have to be either or? Yes. Just yes.
Yeah.
And are you a mom or are you an entrepreneur?
Yes.
Yes. And
all of the
you know,
above.
yeah. But a lot of people, they live life in their own box of either or. And because they live that way and think that way, they try to put others in that same box too and write their stories too.
Because is we for some reason society has this need to label, and I'm like, why must we label everything that we do? Like, okay, either you're you're green or red, or you're here, you're there. Why can't we just be a mix of everything? That really defines me. So now that you mentioned, my shirt, this shirt is very special to me, because yes, it alludes to my roots, right, in El Salvador. And obviously I will not never forget where I came from, but I also am so grateful of my home. This is my home. The United States is my home, because it really allowed me to build this dream. It is allowing me to give something special and back and valuable to my girls, that they can feel they belong, right? Coming from this, which I love, is in my heart, but coming home, if that makes sense.
Completely. It's really beautiful. And I want to give a shout out to our buddy Chris here in the comments. And for those of you who don't know Chris or not connected to Chris, he has this amazing movement called the Walking Tall movement. And Chris is a survivor of a mass shooting. And so we talk about having to experience things most people will never experience in their lives. Thankfully, most people will never experience that. Chris has. And like you, Rocky, Chris decided to take the most traumatizing, darkest moment of his life and turn it into a force for light and a force for good to help others step into their own power. So check out Chris, connect with him, check out the Walking Tall movement. It is inspirational. It is awesome. It is, you talk about like bringing the light to the darkness. My man here is doing it.
Oh
He
my
is.
gosh. No, absolutely. Shout out. Literally a week ago, we were meeting in person for the first time. And that shows you, that goes to show you the power that whenever like-minded individuals come together, what they can do in unison. Like, to me, it's been, I am not the same person I was last week. Let me tell you that. That conference, the mental health marketing conference, shout out to you, Steve Turning, and all your team, really changed me, and it like deepen the appreciation that I have for all the work that all the advocates are doing with mental health. So thank you, Chris. Thank you, Walking Tall. Thank you, Jennifer and Adrian from Beacon Media and Marketing, for allowing us that opportunity to actually go out there, because they did the sponsoring. So I was just like, yes, it was nice.
And you're doing it. You're living the life. You're living like the Walking Tall idea. It's pushing yourself forward, being example for others, not letting those moments of adversity hold you in the same place forever. Because when you power through that, you give others the permission to do the same. That's some strong stuff, because a lot of people want to, but they just don't see people maybe in their own immediate
Hmm.
ecosystem who are doing it. Maybe they
Hmm.
see you on LinkedIn though. Maybe that's enough.
Yeah, and
That's
that is
powerful.
one of
It's
the
a lot.
things that why I try to be very loud in my voice, or visible wherever I stand or step into, just because I feel that if I can serve as a launching pad for someone else to have the courage to say, okay, I can do that. I can go out there and build that dream. Or I can go out there and, write that book. I can shout out Nicole Angay Galindo. I remember the first talk that I had with her, where she was like, oh, I can't write. I mean, I was just like, yes, you can. And now she's published like 2 books or 3 books already. And I'm just like, yay, girl, more power to you. I love it. So it's just that right there. If I can be, like I said, a launch pad for someone else's dream, I am more there. Like every single day, I will be applauding you. I'll be rooting for you. So you go back to say like I am everywhere that everyone knows me or everyone likes me. I wouldn't say everyone likes me, but I try to show up for everyone because I believe that everyone has gifts and abilities that need to be seen and need to be heard, a voice that needs to be heard, and literally words that need to be read. To say and to contribute in a positive way. Some people may label me as a, oh my gosh, she lives in la la land, like I live in a dream world. But yeah, well, I'm very happy and content in that dream world. You know why? Because I've seen the realities and the life that there was in the past, and I don't want to go back to that. And I don't want anyone to go back to those type of circumstances and yeah, just surroundings. And if I can help provide someone with a lighter load to carry in the world, but still go step in step, inch by inch, I should say. Sometimes it's not even like giant leaps, right? Even if you're moving 1 inch at a time, but you're making forward progress, then you're winning at life. And that is just my perspective.
You are winning. I mean, you're winning every day with what you're doing. I mean that. And La La Land, I get the same clap back for living in La La Land. For living in this dream world, and these daily vignettes that just kind of come through me about this world that we're going to give birth to. I've been accused of being literally living in a fantasy, and it's, well, that would be nice. It's a nice wish. It's a nice dream. It's, well, you know what? Everything amazing in this world was once a wish. It was once a dream. It was
Hmm.
once a fantasy. Flying was once a fantasy.
Yes.
Electricity was once a fantasy. These were all fantasies.
Yes.
And
Yes.
now the reality.
Yes.
And you doing what you're doing was the dream and the fantasy of your parents, and you're doing it.
Yes. You said the key word right there. My parents' wish for me was to come to this country, make myself a woman of good, right? A good citizen, a woman who's educated, highly educated, which that in itself, me going away to college was a whole show, but we can talk about that some other day. But I've done my due diligence. I've done what they asked me to do. And so my life is for me to live now, right? And who is stopping you from being the best version of yourself every single day? Only you, right? You are stopping. So, going back to how I started this journey, saying, what is it that I want from life? What is it that I want out of life? You have to really dig deep and reflect. Self reflection is very important, right? We lead such stressful lives and we're like repetitive, like machines. We're just repetitive. Get up, you follow your morning routine, you get in that car, you go to work, you do what you got to do at work. 5 o'clock hits, you come home, you eat dinner, you do whatever it is. And we do that over and over and over again. Yet we forget the self. We forget us. And when we forget us, we starve. And I say that in a literal
Yeah.
way,
Oh yeah.
and that starvation is what caused my suffocation, and I said, "No, I need to get up and breathe for myself." And so I tell people, where do you start with really trying to pivot in life? Because many of the clients who come to me is like, I just don't know how to pivot. Okay, let's sit down. Let's take a few minutes and really write down what is it that you want to do in life. And I feel like I was Italian at one point in my life because I cannot stop talking without my hand.
100%. Angela, Dana, when you see one, it's like, without a doubt. Yes.
Yeah. So I'm just like, okay, compose yourself, Raquel. So it's one of those things where I said, okay, let's make a list. Let's do some reflection, dive deep. Maybe we're not going to dive deep in this session, but you can go off on your own and do it. But what are your goals? What do you want to do? What is your dream job? What is your dream aspiration? And we start there, right? People really don't take the time to dive deep within themselves and say and ask themselves permission to really want to dream, because they feel, oh, I have to fit this mold. I'm in corporate, or I'm an entrepreneur, or I have to do this and that. No, why are you building somebody else's dream when you can be really, really hustling on the side and building your own empire? Again, everybody's different, but that's just what I thought. I said, I need to start building a legacy for my kids. I want to leave them something so they can say, "Hey, look at what my mama did. I want to continue that legacy or even do better." Isn't that what we want for our kids?
Ideally, right? Do better. Always do better. Be the one that
Yeah.
sets the bar for the one behind you to set an even higher bar. And that's just the whole universe is in a constant state of evolution and creation. We can get into that for another show, but I know we're coming up at the time where you have to get going. So I have two questions that I ask every guest,
Yeah.
a big question and then a really big question. So we're going to start with the big question first. According to Raquel Flores, what is the meaning of life?
My goodness. And that is the first question.
That's
Oh
just the first
gosh. It's just the
one. Yeah,
first
that's
question.
yeah.
Goodness life. Okay. So for me, the meaning of life, as defined within the last 3 years of my life, was being able to be me authentically, in root, going back to my innate innocent child, being me in my most innocent way, liberating myself from the chains of conformity. So that is the meaning of life for me, being able to break free and finding that purpose and going after it.
I love that. I love that. And of course, like the really, really big question now. Gig 'em Aggies or hook 'em horns?
Oh my God. Is that really a question? Jesus. Horns
I
down.
well, I get okay. Well, I had to ask just in case there was like some like lizard body double of you on my show, because that's how I would flush them out. That's how I would like right there and then they would like leave the body and I would know what I was dealing with. I would, yeah.
Hook 'em down.
Okay.
No,
All
no,
right.
no. Gig 'em Aggies. Hey, whoop.
Okay. So you are Rocky. I just had to check. All right. We're good. For everybody out there, I want to say thank you so much for joining us today. I promise you these tech issues will get resolved by the next show. I appreciate all of you being patient. I do love you all for that.
I have a
And
question for you.
Rocky,
So
yes.
you don't even feel this little bit of bad for beating me yesterday?
No, not particularly, honestly. I can't say that I do because look, I was 1-2 coming into that matchup. I had to even up my record. The only path to the playoff is evening the record and then moving forward. So you just happen to be in the way. It is what it is. I promise you, when we play each other again toward the end of the year, I will only beat you by 2 points this time. I'll give you a chance
Oh,
on Monday night. So,
how
all right,
gracious
I'll
of
go easy
you.
on you. You'll be
Wow.
all right. Don't start an injured 49er and we won't have this conversation. But seriously, Rocky, I cannot thank you enough for coming on today. You're the best. You are truly the best. And everybody here loves you. And there's a reason they love you because you root for everybody. You're in everybody's corner. And you know what? I speak for everybody here and I say, we got your back too.
Oh, I love you. Thank you so much. And even though we've just literally met over the last few months, you have become a part of my inner, tribe, and I love you just because everything, all the possibility, like positivity you're putting out there in the world, and through your comedy, like your whole personality, you're just amazing. And thank you for making us smile every single day. I appreciate you, and everybody should check you out, man. I'm telling you, connect with Jeff. He's amazing. He'll make you laugh. And yeah, maybe you need to get a little bit better at fantasy football before you play with him. But yeah.
I appreciate you. Thank you for the kind words. And everybody in the comments, I love each and every one of you. You know who you are. You're the best. Thank you for coming down. We'll see you next week. Enjoy the day, friends.